Alright, let's talk about something I get asked all the time by first-time home buyers and young investors. Harji, can I actually buy properties, like multiple properties with just 5% down payment? It sounds easy, at least on social media, but buy one, then another, and then another. In real life, buying all that down with 5%, it's not that simple. So today, I am going to break this down in this video so that you know exactly what works and what doesn't. Hi everybody, this is Harji Sidhu, your realtor, builder and real estate investor based in Toronto and Kitchener-Waterloo region. I help buy, sell, build your dream homes in Canada, and I am on mission to help 1,000 people achieve financial freedom through real estate. So now let's get started on this video. Yes, in Canada you can buy a home with just 5% down payment, but only under one condition. It has to be your primary residence. It doesn't have to be your first home, but it has to be your primary residence. Means you actually live there, not a rental, not a flip, and not an Airbnb. The reason this is allowed is because of mortgage insurance by CMHC. That protects the bank, not you. And that's why they let you in with less money upfront. So the next question you might have is, why can't I use 5% on rentals? Here's where most people get confused. The moment you buy a property strictly as an investment, everything changes. Now you are looking at least 20% down payments and sometimes even more. And the CMHC insurance does not qualify for that. So no, you cannot buy a rental property at 5% down payment. And anyone telling you that, they are selling you dreams, not the facts. But here is the smart part. Even though you can buy rentals at 5%, you can still build a portfolio using 5% over time. And here is how. You buy your first home at 5% down payment. You live in it at least for a year or so. I would recommend you live in it for at least 2 years. That's where you build equity, you improve your income, and you strengthen your credit. And there, after a year or two, you move and you buy your next home with again 5%, and then you rent out the first home. Now you own 2 homes, and it's a repeat process. It's slow, it's boring, but it works. So now let me be very clear about this. You must live in the home, and that is not optional. Banks can verify your address, your bills, your ID, everything. And if you lie, that's a mortgage fraud and it can destroy your financial life. So I would recommend don't try to play around with this. The system works for you as long as you play fair with the rules. Now let me show you how this works in real life, and we will go over maths, how the numbers work for long term. Let's just say you buy a bungalow for $500,000. I know this is not possible in Toronto and nearby areas, at least Kitchener-Waterloo, but this is again very much possible in London, Windsor, or the markets around St. Catherine or Niagara Falls. Let's just say you put 5% down payment for that property, which is going to be $25,000. Now, your mortgage is going to be $475,000, but since you are putting less than 20% down payment, you need CMHC insurance. That's not optional, that is, there it is. And that's going to be roughly $18,000 to $19,000. So let's just say your real mortgage now is around $495,000. At 4% interest rate, your mortgage with 25 years amortization should be roughly about $2,600 per month. And let's just say you live in that property for 2 years, and just before moving out, buying a new property, you converted it into a duplex. On an average, it can cost you about $60,000. And after that, it's a duplex. And now let us put together very conservative numbers. The main floor rents at $2,200 a month, basement rents at $1,300 per month. Total rent is going to be $3,500 per month. And now mortgage, with the numbers that we assumed, is roughly going to be around $2,600 per month. Property tax, insurance and maintenance, that's roughly going to be around $600 per month. Now your total expenses per month is going to be $3,200 per month. We have still assumed conservative numbers for the rental, which means even at those numbers, your property is cash flowing by $300 per month, which is $3,600 per year. It's not massive, but it is positive and stable. Now, let's just zoom out. Now, let's just assume you bought a second property with again 5% down payment, and you let the first property sit down as a rental and do not touch it. Assume, let's be very conservative, assume property grows at 2% per year, rent also grows at 2% per year. No crazy numbers, very achievable with the market, even the way it is. So $500,000 appreciation for 10 years becomes about $610,000. That's almost $110,000 in appreciation. So that's just by holding. And now let's also look at mortgage pay down after 10 years. You started at $494,000. After 10 years, you would owe roughly about $398,000. That means in 10 years, you have paid roughly $96,000. So now let's figure out how much equity we have in 10 years. The value of the house is $610,000. The mortgage that we owe is $398,000. That's about $212,000 in equity. Let's just again zoom out. That's from a $25,000 down payment. Now, let that sink in. Let's also figure out how much cash flow we have had in 10 years. We have started at $3,600 per year. With the rent increases over 10 years, we would collect about $40,000 in cash flow. So let's put that in perspective. Total wealth created in 10 years. Appreciation $110,000, mortgage pay down $96,000, and cash flow that is $40,000. That's a whooping total of $246,000 from our initial investment of $85,000. That's $25,000 for down payment and $60,000 from the legal duplex conversion. That's leverage, that's patience, and that is real estate. And here's where it gets powerful, because this property is cash flowing, because it's building equity, because rent supports it. Your lender also sees the strength. And now when you upgrade, let's just say your next home is again $800,000. Minimum down payment that you would need to buy that house would be $25,000 for your first $500,000, and the next $300,000 you would need $30,000, which means 10% of the remaining part. That means the down payment required is $55,000. So you move into the second property, and in the 10 years, you would do the same on the second property as well. And that is how the power of real estate will work for you, helping you build wealth over time. So I hope I was able to help you guys in this video with the numbers that you needed to learn how real estate works. So if you want to help break down your personal numbers, incomes, timelines, or lenders, book a call, one-on-one call with me. And if you need access to my inner circle of market deals, you can join my WhatsApp group here. Till then, see you guys in the next video.